and your internet can be cut as well. So recording has been started, and yeah, let's start. So hello everyone, welcome to the first session of BHOS Cyber Club programming division. It's a first session for this year that is going to be recorded and published. And today's topic is bash scripting. My name is Roman Tostashev. Mostly you know me, that's why I haven't put slide with my information about me, because mostly you know me and there is no need for that. So basically, the idea of today's meeting, it is this agenda is depicted in this agenda. We're going to talk about what is a bash scripting, application scenarios, and some useful links. So just from the beginning, I just want to say that before you need to know some basics about Linux. So one of the prerequisites of the today's session is some basic knowledge of Linux. So if you don't know Linux, it's gonna be hard today for you, but if you know, use it. So first of all, let's talk about what is it. So what's bash scripting basically? We have several parts in this word bash scripting. And one of the part that is like behind the bash is a shell. So shell, it's a place, it's environment where commands are going to be executed. So you have some commands and they should be executed somewhere, and this place is called shell. So too obvious. And bash is a type of that shell. So if you're going to execute some commands, you need to use some shell, and there are different types of shells, like a bash, sh, fish, so on. And one of them is a bash shell. Bash, it's one of the most popular one, and it is going going by default in some in most of Linux distributions. I can say it is basically Ubuntu or Debian-based distributions. Mostly they're coming with bash shell, and that's why it is kind of one of the standards that is usually used in production, so on. But sometimes we're using Z shell, sometimes we're using fish, so on. There are some improvements, but most important one is a bash. And second and third thing is a script. So script, it's not a program. It's not a program. Script is a basic scenario. So if you are going to do something in an algorithmic way, step by step, you are going to write some script. And we kind of call it script, not a program. So basically, yes, we're writing code, but this code at the end is not a complete program. It's just a scenario how commands going to be executed. And another interesting part, command, it's a program itself. Okay, good point. So how can command be a program when we're writing something? So the problem is all commands that are using in bash are programs, and basically we're working with programs. Let me show you one thing. So I can open my terminal, and so that's my terminal. It's a way how I can execute my commands. So it's like some source where I can put my my commands, and they will be going to be executed. So basically, when I open terminal, I initialize a shell. And shell, the type of this shell is a bash. So software basically that is makes the shell executable called bash. And script, okay, we're not going to touch script right now, but let's write with the program. Basically, a script can consist of one step. and it is normal. So scenario can be consist of only one thing, and it is normal, and it can be just one command. There are a lot of commands in Bash, but let's start with the simplest one called cat. Cat is used to display content of some file. We're going to talk about this command later, but let me just show you one thing. So, okay, let believe me, and you're going to have some file, some standard file in Linux, bash history, for example, or let's bash rc, and some content is showed me. But if we look to the another programming language, like not a scripting language, but a programming language, you will not be able to do it in this simple way, just to show the content of the file. If you want to do it in Python, for example, you need to do it at least in this command. So first of all, you need to open the file, then you need to use loop statement to go line by line and print each line. So, but in Bash, it's very simple. Why? Because cat, it's not a statement like a with, or not a for statement, not a if statement. It's not for statement, if statement. So it's not like a part of the programming language. It's a command, and it's a command. This command is a program by itself. Another cool command in Bash called which. Basically, if you want to know the location of the program that you are going to execute, you can use which. And for example, I use which and then press type name of the command, which location I want to know, which cat, and now it shows me the location where this cat is located. And if I do one interesting thing, I want to know the content of this cat. So what are you going to do? I do cat and then user bin cat. So basically, I want to show the content of this file. And what we can see, that's a binary. So it's not a program that is written on some programming language. Yeah, it's a program that's written on some programming language, but actually it's a binary code. So it means that it is compiled and it is ready program. Another thing that I can do in Bash, it's know the type of the file. If I type file, and then I write the path to that cat file again, it showed me that it's executable object. So yes, really, it is a program. It is not a like a for, if, print statement, print keywords or statements in our programming languages. They all are separated programs. So after that, after my creating mesh in your hands, in your heads, let's think about it. Why do we need it? So why do we need this complicated stuff? Why we cannot write everything on Python, and why we need this kind of things? So the most important part about Bash and other script languages, like scripting languages, shell languages, they're tightly integrated with operation system. So it means that you can do by Bash some checks, some configurations even using these commands. Another thing is the text processing. So you can easily process text. Actually, you can do it with Python as well. But again, if we go back, you see, if I'm going to do the same processing with Python, it can take more time to write the code. But when I do it in Bash, I can have less code because just output of the file is different. And cat in Bash seems to be simpler than println of each line of file in Python. And the last thing is automation. That's the most important part. You can automate some things in your operation system, in your server, or basically for yourself, do some small automation stuff. Then some simple commands. So let's start with working with OS. And yeah, let's start one by one. So if you want to know, for example, today's date, I'll show again. If you want to know today's date again, we can use date command, and it displays me date. Then if I want to know which user I am, it is who am I. And host name, basically it's the name of computer in the network, host name, so on, so on. So these things, they are simple, sometimes we're using them, and they're highly related to the system. Another thing, let me skip this copy, move, ls, and so on. For example, ls PCI, which stands for list PCI devices. You know that PCI devices are devices that are connected by bus, special bus. For example, it can be your video card, sound card, so on. And yeah, as you can see, PCI devices are listed, so on. For example, my video card is listed, some USB controllers because they're also sometimes connected by PCI, and so on. Another thing, so we can do what? We can check our internet IP configuration. I mean, internet configuration. APA is to check. Oops, 1 second. There is a mistake. It is not with A. It is with dash. Sorry, it is just with A. Yeah. So we can check some configurations of our network, like IP address, like MAC addresses, so on. And another thing, we also can do it with another command called ifconfig. But sometimes there is a tricky thing. Ifconfig, I wrote it correctly, but sometimes it's not coming by default. And to do it, you need to install it. So sometimes we need to install additional software to run additional commands. In Linux, as we know, there are a lot of package managers. And right now I'm using Ubuntu. We can check it, for example, by command uname a. And you can see that, okay, it's not written correctly, but I can go to the cat HCC OS release, and you can see that it is Ubuntu. And in Ubuntu, we know that by default, we're coming with apt packet manager. So we can install it, sudo apt install. Not ifconfig, but it's calling network tools, if I'm mistaken. Ifconfig, it will give us an error. Yes, apt install, sorry. Ifconfig. Yeah, not like it, but network tools, if I'm not mistaken. Network tools. Okay, we can find it. Search ifconfig. Yeah, we can internet util tools. Okay. Okay. Sudo apt install. And yeah, here we are. Let's wait for a while. Yeah, and now if config is working. So what I did, I installed additional set of code on my computer, and right now Bash can interpret these commands. And a lot more, for example, top to show some commands even they are, as they separated programs, they can have separated interface, so on. For example, if top, top, it's a command. Basically, it's almost a program that is used to display running tasks, running processes. Sorry, in the system. You can see the PID, they see the name, description, so on. And another command I told you before, it's which. Another cool thing, it's htop. It's a modernized version of top. You see, you have more detailed interface, so on. And about this one, I think you know them because they are just commands for copying, for moving, for listing directories and changing directories. But let's playing with them. For example, I want to go to my desktop. Then I want to, for example, another command mkdir to create a directory. For example, my directory. Then I can change to that directory, and so on. I can copy something. For example, I can create a file by touch. Dummy.txt, and then, for example, go back by cd dash dot dot, and then, for example, copy my dummy file from the my directory dummy to the current directory, which is desktop directory, and then I can listen it. As you can see, dummy file located here. So yeah. So these simple commands, I believe you know them. And yeah, another cool thing, it's a do, which stands for that's used for understanding the file size of the understanding the size of the file. For example, do dummy txt. So you see it's in 0 bytes, but if I add something to this to this dummy txt file, for example, I will talk about later, but let me show it right now. For example, I can use Vim, which is console text editor, terminal text editor, I would say. And for example, add some stuff here, save it. And then when I do, so you see it's a four words, if I'm not mistaken, it is bytes, but I can do it in this way, 4 kilobytes even, okay. 4 kilobytes, it means that the size of this file is 4 kilobytes. H is used to show it's in human notation, so it will add at the end this suffixes like a K, M, so on, and it will provide it not in the, for example, all kilobytes, but it will convert it to the gigabytes if it's required, and megabytes, so on. So for you to better understand the size. Then, so we're done with that. Another thing, it is help. Yeah, sometimes we need to have a help about some command. We can use man for that. For example, I can use man for cat command, let's say, and I have a detailed description how to use it. For example, I want to know some information about ifconfig, and I don't know where this information is located. For example, ifconfig, no, it's located here. But for example, I don't know, and I want to search for a keyword. To search for a keyword, I can use this one. K stands for key or something maybe, and ifconfig, yeah. now it's providing me information which manual pages I can use. For example, I can use second one. For example, I never know about this one, so or this one, if CFG. Okay, let's copy it and look. And there's some information about if config as well. We can search for it. I use I use question sign for that. If config, 1 second. If config, yes, you see, it is written here. If config, common syntax, so on. Then another thing, we can have several, as it mentioned on the slide, manual pages for different purposes. For example, one manual page can be created especially for one manual page can be created especially for developers. Second manual page can be created, for example, for normal people, like normal users, normal people. And to do it, we can use man. Then, for example, number of that. So, okay, let me make it clear for you. Man, and there it is written. It will show the section of numbers manual page. Yes, pages by yes. So basically the same content as written here. So executable programs or shell commands, system calls, library calls, specified, so on. So we can play with that, and we can select special page that we need for us. For example, man page have also main page for miscellaneous macro packages and conversions. So the information will be different according to the purpose that is used. And for example, man 7, it is different manual. So for macros to format man pages. So how to create basically that man pages. But if I do man 1, where 1 stands for normal user, it's just an interface of the system reference manual. So according to your needs, you can select necessary manual page. And the last thing, it is searching for the manual pages. For example, I want to know all manual pages of man. And it will provide me all manual pages. So normally, if I do it, okay, let me show you firstly. So if I scroll down to the end and I want to quit, you see it's the same, means that there's another page. I can return and continue to read this 7th manual page. And if I quit, it will exit because there are only 2 manual pages for man. But if I do it without this one, by default, it will open first manual page. And if I quit it, so you see, I quit and nothing happens. So I have to select 7th manual page again. So when we're using this A, for example, if we don't know, actually, we know about some functionality, but we don't know the location in which manual page it is located. We can use this manual and manually check for the required functionality. So, and let's start with some basic programming. To make your job easier, I have some prepared scripts. So basically, we are going to just, first of all, we're limited in time. And second, we'll discuss some scripts that we have. We're going to do some basic programming stuff. And the first thing that we need to start, it is, what do we need? Yeah. So we told a lot about scripts, but we only used commands at the end. So we used, as I mentioned at the beginning, we just used script that contained only one command, basically. But what I'm going to do if I need complete like a script that will process some data, for example, or do some interaction with the user. So to do that, we can use shell scripts. We create sh file. We create file with extension sh, and we can run it by bash or sh, but bash is more preferable because it can have some additional functionality. We need to use some code editor. You can use whatever you want. I am going to use Vim, and I will recommend you to use Vim as well because it is more easier to do everything, all stuff in the terminal rather than switching between VS Code, for example, and terminal. And then we need to make this script executable. About executable scripts, you may be familiar with the chmod command that stands for change parameters of file, that is for read, write, and make executable. Then we, inside our bash file, we need to have this string that is called shebang. It's optional, we can have it or not, but without this shebang, we are not able to execute in this way. So it's a classic way to execute programs in Linux, all executables. So without this shebang, it will not work. And without this chmod plus x, this will not work. So first of all, let's start with some if-else conditions. But before, let me to show you some basic stuff on the bash script. First of all, to clean the window, I believe you know that you can just press Ctrl-L and bash terminal will be clean. So what I want to do, I want to, for example, create some variable and print it, yeah, without sh file, just to make this clear. So to create a variable, I need to create a variable basically. I can do it in this way. For example, name, let it be, for example, Roman, and echo name. Yeah. Or another way how we can assign variables. There is a problem, not a problem, but like when we assign it without keyword export, it will be available only inside our bash. So if I run separate script, it will not be available. That's why I prefer to write it with the keyword export, and I will recommend you. So scope of the execution will be higher. Name, so it will be the same. The result will be the same, but the scope will be higher. I believe you know what's the scope. So scope, it's a place where variable is accessible. So the thing is, we use this kind of notation to assign variables, echo to print variable, and $sign to access this variable. So if I print like this, it will not work. It will just print me a name, because by default, everything in bash is a string. So let me create some bash script and play with that. Again, I will use Vim. I will call it first. I call it first.sh. Or we can do it in a separate way. We can touch it to create, first of all, the file. Now we have it. As first, we have it. And then let's play with that. First of all, I want to add this shebang sign. And then I want to, for example, let it be hello world script. Echo, I can write it in, I have to actually write it in columns, not columns, what's the name of the quotation marks? Yes, double quotation marks, because there's a space between words. So I can use this one or this one. In this case, it doesn't matter, but I will show you sample where it matters. For example, echo hello world. Yeah, that's it. Let's close him and make it executable. First of all, if I run it like this without making it executable, I believe you know it, so permission denied. But if I do it chmod plus x, first sh, and then run it, so yeah, hello world is running without any problems because I make it executable. And if we look for it again, yeah, it is executable for almost all. Yeah. Then let's look for the not variables, but yeah, let's look for variables. So how to create variable in this sh file. So for ones who absolutely like don't understand what's happening. So basically we created a file, and if I go to my desktop, one second, go back. If I go to my desktop, so basically what I did, I created this sh file, and if I open content of it, for example, with some editor, this is something that I wrote inside my console. And how I created by touch. Then I used Vim editor to enter some text. I entered this text, and now it is here. So, yeah, let's go back to our presentation and play with variables a bit. Yeah, Vim first sh. And there, what I will do, for example, assign some variable, for example, city, export city, and again, assign it to Baku. And please pay your attention to this part. I don't use spaces here, because if you use spaces, you will get an error. Yeah, please, it is scripting, it is not a complete programming, so nobody will look for your code style there. Export city Baku and echo. So that's the difference between double quotation marks and single quotation marks here. If I print something like my city is, and then I will access my variable city. So, and let me run it. My city is Baku. Yeah, everything is good. So our variable is working. And if we reassign it, for example, Ganja, I believe I wrote it correctly. So it will make a bit dynamic. So at least we have some variable. What's happening if I replace that double quotation marks with single quotation marks? It will basically not work, and it will interpret everything as a string. So you see, it just interpreted it like a string. So let me put them back. And what I can do, another way how we can access, how we can create variables, not to create basically. Let me go to this slide. And if you see here, there is a prompt. So we're asking user for something. We can do it in this way as well. So we can do before what? We can do echo what is your city, and then read some city variable, and then echo it. My city is city. Yes, like this. I believe it is clear. And right now I'm running it. What's your city? You know, it's asking me for something. I can write Baku, and my city is Baku. So basically, for this to ask user for input, we can use this read statement. Another thing about if-else conditions, so we can use if-else conditions and they're really complicated. So in Bash, if-else conditions, it is also a different program. So, and even there is a manual for this program. You can see this code. So basically what we are doing here, we are asking for two numbers, number 1 and number 2. And if number 1 is greater than number 2, we're saying that it's greater than number 2. Else, if it's less than, like LT stands for less than, it is less than number 2 is greater than number 1. So basically we interchange them. That's why it is number 2 this time is greater than number 1. And otherwise they're equal. So you see this square braces, they're important, so we have to have them. Also this semicolon, it is also important, we have to have them. So it's a part of the syntax, and to use if-else conditions, you have to have these parts. If you want to know more about this greater or less than, what you can do, you can man, again, using man command to get manual. And there's a interesting stuff called test, man test. And in man test, there's a complete description of what you can do. Let me scroll down. Okay, there is no so much interesting stuff here, but yeah, something, yeah, it is here. So if you want to look for equality, you need to use equal. If you want to use greater than or equal, you have to use GE. If you want to use greater only, so it's a GT, so on. And pay your attention that strings, so comparison of strings done is in this way, and comparison of strings and integers are different. And also you can compare files. So file, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a like an integration with file system, with operation, with entire operation system, and of course there's integration with file system. That's why you can easily check whether files are equal or not. So can you imagine the same doing in Python? So you will spend, I believe, 12 lines of code for that. Yeah, but there you can do it within 1, 2, 3 lines. Yeah, a lot of parameters available. Let's play with this piece of code a bit. Sorry, I have source, I believe. And yeah, I have source of this code in my notes. Vim first sh. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically this code. And let me make it more better, more compact, I would say. Then, yeah, something like this. Tabulations are not important, so you can do it in this way as well. It's not a problem. But by default, Vim has own formatting style. Let's stick to that formatting style. Yeah. Like this. And yeah, so basically, what we can do more here. Another thing that I want to show you, okay, comparison is clear, I believe. So if we're using to check if it's greater or not, and so on. But another stuff that I want to show you here, it is another way how to access variables. Not even variables, but arguments. So all bash command consists of 3 parts. First part is the name of the command. Second part, it's the parameters of the command. And third is the arguments. So let me show you on this example, you will get it. So if I do ls, la, first sh. So ls stands for the name of the command. La are parameters. So for example, I can change it to L. It will not give you a lot of stuff, but if I remove L and, for example, keep it A, in this case, it doesn't really make sense to put this A, but anyway, you see output is changed, but argument of the program is still the same. It is file called first sh. But if I, yeah, so this part is called argument, and this part, it is a parameters of the command. So basically, by parameters, we change the behavior of the program, but argument is a separate input of the program. And if I do it like this, for example, let me change it to from read num to, yeah, I want to get rid of, even like this. So I will get rid of that, and instead of asking input from user, I want to call it from the argument side. So to use arguments of my program, I can use this sign, and please pay your attention that we need to start there from the 1. Yeah. And the num2, it is 2. So if I want to print the name of the command, I can, so basically why we're starting from 1? Let me start from that. Why we're starting from 1? Because $0, it is name of the program itself. Yeah. Even I can show it, echo program. Zero have, and I want to call the number of arguments. I can do this one. $, arguments, something like this. It's just for the debugging purposes, nothing more, to show you that it's working. Then I just again called my first sh, and you see program first sh have 0 arguments, and we got problems. But if I call it like this, 2, 1 and 2, or okay, let me put some numbers to not create mesh. 23. So program first number, second number. So 1 second, let me remove this echoes as well. Yeah. Yeah, program have 2 arguments. 84 is greater than 23. So using this if statement, I compared arguments that are given by program. So it's about if-else condition and arguments. So we touched 2 topics right now, arguments and if-else conditions. We can play more with if-else conditions. For example, we can let's say we want to compare two files. Yeah. 1 second. Let me simplify my work because we are limited in time. So yeah, and pay your attention here. When we start if, we need to end it with phi. So it's also a problem, not a problem basically, but as a syntax of bash. And for example, I want to compare two files. So I have two files and I want to compare them. What I can do, I can write here E, which stands for equal, and then I can write file are equal. So you see, I just switched from numbers to files, and it's not a problem for bash at all. And files are different. That's it. And semicolon at the end is not required here. One thing that I want to check, it is man test, and again I'm looking for file section. File. Okay. Yeah. File have the same device or not numbers. I don't want to older than. I want to check whether they equal. File has the same device and nodes. Is newer in older. File exists. Okay, let us check just for file exists to not waste our time. I want to check whether the file exists or not. Let me do like this. And there is no need for second argument. Yeah. So I have some file here called dummy.txt, and it is existing. So I calling it first sh and then dummy.txt. File, 1 second. File exists. And yeah, file exists. Yeah. And file doesn't exist. Does not exist. Yeah, like this. In this case, yeah, we can keep the semicolons, not semicolons, quotation marks, or not. It's not a problem. And instead of num1, I will write num1 file. Yeah. Even I can get rid of that because we have only one argument, so we can. There's no need to use additional variables. I just write it like this. Yeah. I want to check whether my file exists or not. So very simple. And then file exists. And if I remove my file, dummy.txt, and then I run my program again, file does not exist. So basically, that's it. So that's all about if-else conditions. Then let's go to the while conditions. They're even more, they're not so complicated. If you got if-else conditions, they're almost the same. You just write the while instead of if, and you use do and done. So in C++ and in other C-like programming languages, we use what? We use curly braces, yes, to separate scope. In Bash, we're using if and phi to separate scope of if, and do and done to separate scope of loops. So for, we also have do and done. So this program is performing countdown using while loop. So every time you just decreasing, you are asked for the seconds, number of seconds you want to countdown, and this program every time decrease this variable by 1 and make like a countdown. So prints how many seconds left. And also we're using sleep command just to sleep our system for 1 second. What does it mean? When we call sleep, like a terminal becomes frozen for for given time. Let's say we have sleep and 10, so for 10 seconds nothing will happen. We will check. Yeah, something like this. So 10 seconds, nothing happened. In this case, we just keep it by 1. So every time we stop terminal for 1 second and print the number of seconds that's left. Basically, that's it. So that's the syntax of while loop. You print the while keyword, then you print this statement. Again, like an if statement. So if you see you can notice that this test statement, that's called test statement, is the same. So we use the same basically syntax for that. Then we put semicolon and make do and done. Do from notice that cycle is beginning, and done noticing us that cycle is ending. So that's a end point of the cycle, last part of the cycle. And again, imagine curly braces in C++. So that's the opening curly bracket, that's a closing curly bracket, like this. And you do your business logic kinda in the this part of code. Another thing that is mentioned here, it is this one, $, and then two, how I call it, braces. Yes, 2 brackets. So if you want to do some mathematical operations in Bash, you have to do it in this way. You have to always use $sign, then this braces, and inside these braces write your mathematical operation. So it is done like this. So as we're limited in time, I will skip there. So basically it's understandable, but this thing is more interesting, I think. It's for loop, and basically it seems the same with while loop. So we have our keyword while, then we have do done as a scope of our while loop, and there we have for keyword and do done as a scope of our for loop. Inside this condition, inside this, we are writing our condition. So we're iterating from 1 to 10, including by 1 step. And there we use if condition in the same way, and printing echo, like this. Another thing that I want to mention you is that it's not only way how can we use for loop. We can use for loop to look for our files. So first of all, let's open our Vim, and with our first sh, work with our files. Not the files, but I want to print all files that are in my directory. So I can use this way. So, but again, let's use some advantages of Bash so that it's highly integrated with operation system. For file, in one of the way how can do this, it is we can do this thing. ls, then do I do echo a file. Again, I use this, and then done. So what I'm doing here, I'm calling, first of all, what you can ask, what is this? So to call program in bash, like I want to use input output of this program. So I want to use output of ls program. To do this, I can write it in this quotation mark, single quotation. It's not a quotation mark even. It's something resemble to quotation mark, and call my program ls and use the output of ls command in my current program. For example, when I press ls, so it shows me this output: first sh, folder, my directory, so on. But if I do it in this way, I can use this output in my program. So this first sh, dummy, txt, so on will be printed here. First sh, yes. Again, you see all the contents that given by my ls command is like a passed to my program. Again, it makes some point of flexibility for me. Like I can do what? I can write something like this: my file is like this. And now when I run it, my file is folder. Okay, folder is not a file, but anyway, we can do that. We can make a test. We can make a test. We can write something like a file is file. To test whether it is file or not, we can use this dash f and t, and stop 1 second. If then yes, there should if, and let me go back. Yes, then, right? Then. So again, it's like a scope. And if you can notice that I have some suggestions from the Vim. So there is a compilation error. Let's go back. What I'm doing wrong? Phi. Yeah, phi. I write it if again. I don't know why. Yeah. Then echo phi. Good. Let's run it. And my file only it's a first sh. Okay. Let me create another file. Touch. Let me call it like this. Another file like this. And then when I run it, so it's another file. But if I create another folder, one second, and Kadir, yeah, and I run it first sh, you see folder is not appearing here because it is a folder, it's not a file. Yeah. So basically, what we learn here. So that's our for loop. It's another way how can we declare for loop. We can declare for loop in this way, and we can declare for loop in this way as well. And we can, by using this quotation marks, use output of another program. Another way how we can do this, it is like this. It also should work. If I run it here, so you can do it whether with $sign and opening braces, or you can do with this quotation mark. Tell me if it's not a quotation mark. So yeah. Then text processing. So I think you know all of this stuff better than me. I mean about outputs. Head, tail, less, more, cat. So cat we already told. More also told. More we haven't. 1 second, I got some message. Second, please. Yeah, it's different. Okay, no problems. So, head, tail, less, cat. Yeah, cat I already told you. So if I want to print the content, I can use cat and my file name, for example, first sh, and this I'll put my cat content of it. I can use head to print top of my content. For example, cat head first sh, but I can specify here how many lines. For example, I want to only 2 lines, so it's printing only 2 lines of it. Again, with tail is the same like a head, but it's working from the bottom of the file again. So again, 2 lines are printed, empty line, and done. More, it's a pager to print content of file. If it's okay, this file is not too big, but if I look, for example, ATC password, yeah. So it displays me in this way, more like a detailed way, but less is a updated version like of if I'm mistaken, it's a code pager password. Yeah, displayed all content in like a separated space. Yeah, yeah, that's it. So about editing, we already touched Vim. I don't think that we have time to touch set, but it's also a type of way. It's a way how we can play with the editing. And the difference between sed and others, like a sed, you just print sed, write your command, your file, and it will directly apply the changes into the file. You can replace, you can remove some lines from the file. A very good thing when you use some, for example, when you're working with, when you're building pipelines, and it's not possible to use some interaction, human interaction here. You can use set. And grab, of, cut, also text processors. So if I'm mistaken, there I prepared some stuff for you. Yeah. Basically, what I did, I created some CSV file. CSV file stands for comma separated file, and let me call it some CSV, comma some dot CSV. Yeah. I print the content here on that file. So, and the cool thing about CSV files that you can easily play with them. You know that in CSV file separator, it's this comma, the comma separator file, basically, that's why. And we can use this in our purposes. How? For example, I also prepared some command for you. So if I want to print only first and second rows, columns of my file. So if we look to this my CSV file, we have 3 columns. We have name, email, and phone. But what I want to do if I want to print only a name and email. I can split my file like into several parts and use the ones that I need. How I can split it? I can split it by some character. Which character I can use? It is comma. And by comma, I can split my file into 3 parts, like this part with name, email, and phone, and select only, for example, name and email part. Let's look on this. Second, let's look on this. Okay, on us, we have some CSV. Yeah. As you can see, only name and email. If I want to, for example, select only emails, I just remove this part, only emails. If I want to select emails and phone numbers, like this, so on. So that's a perfect thing about cut command. Another cool command that you really need to know by how to use it. It is grep command. Grep, for example, I want to have all people starting with J in my some CSV file. You see, it is highlighted me names which are starting with J, John, James, so on. I can also make it case sensitive-less by adding this one, if I'm not mistaken, or capital. I think the small one. Yes, small one. And right now it's case sensitive-less and highlighting me. You see, John is highlighted because his name is starting with J. Jane is also highlighted. So on. I can also only select Jane, for example, Jane. Yeah, and all data about Jane is selected. Jane Smith and his email, so on. If I'm not mistaken, this I can use to print lines above and below as well. For example, I want to print 1 line above and below. Yeah. So Jane and line above and line below. Another thing, some tricky command, not tricky, but interesting command that you can maybe use. For example, I want to find a file that contains some text. Yeah, I want to find a file that contains John Doe. I can use what? I can use grep RIN and my text. For example, J. It will look for the all files inside this in the current directory. Yeah. Okay. Let me stop it to make the process more clear. So we have folder here. Yes, we have my directory. And for example, I want to move another file. Okay, another F to my directory, and I also want to move some CSV. Yeah, and let's go to the my directory file, my directory, and see. So I have the 3 files, and I want to print the file that contains word J. So I use this command, print J, and you see it is printing me that some CSV contains name J in the 3rd line. So in this case, I again stands for ignoring case sensitiveness. And ignoring case sensitive, it means that it is case sensitiveness, and yeah, like this. So that's one way how to use grep command. And the last part is AFK, but I'm not going to touch it because AFK is a separated language for text processing. If you want, you can Google it by yourself. And we're about to finish. And some stuff about automation. So yeah, again, you can have a lot of interesting stuff using automation provided by Bash. For example, the first script, it can find all files with TMP extension and remove them. So find, it's a command to find name by name in the current directory, something that ends with TMP, or yes, it contains TMP at the end. And it's a piping. Piping were used to redirect input from one script or command to another. Then I use xargs. Xargs, it's a also advanced thing how we can play with the arguments, and basically it is put these arguments to the end of RM. So it passes the output of find command to the RM. Let me show you. Let's see what we have. Let me create another. By the way, I can also create a file not by printing touch, but also if I do like this, which stands for redirection. Not redirection, but adding, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, it is like a when we have something on the left side, it will put everything to the left side from the right side. So, for example, if I write like this, echo hello to the dummy 2 txt, and then I printed dummy 2 txt. Okay, why? Because hello is not defined yet. I'm so sorry. Like this, yeah. So there I used to like a variable, so we don't have hello variable right now. So hello, it's outputted to the dummy to txt. And what I can do, I can use find command name. For example, I want to find all txt files. So it will print me list of all txt files. And if you remember, I used in my it's not here. Okay, let's go back, and it is my first SH. You can see that I used this kind of thing here. So I tried to get output of my ls program. Right now, I want to use piping. What does it mean, piping? Piping, it is direct redirect from one program to another program. So I'm not using shell script like sh file. I just want to redirect something to another program. For example, I can redirect it to grep and find something that contains 2. So you see, only dummy 2 contains this 2. So what I want to do if I want to remove these files? To remove these files, I have to do something like this, yeah? But it's not possible because RM asks for the arguments. How I can deal with that? I can, because normally if you want to remove something, you need to pass the name. For example, I want to remove this another file, yeah? I do it in this way, but I cannot do this. It's not possible. So I need to specify the argument. That's why I'm using xargs to put arguments to the RM. And right now we have, but let's look again. We have 2 files, so they are existing, dummy2 and dummy.txt. And if I do like this, xargs RM, it will deleted all files with txt ending with txt. Yeah, because xargs put these arguments till the end of RM. Then another cool thing, it is environment substitution. So even you can do what? For example, you can have some file like a vim, I don't know, config txt, and there you have your username, and there you have your password. Yeah, and by some reason you don't have it right now. It will be assigned dynamically. So I want to put my config data to this file. For example, I have my variable called username, let's say username, and let it be username, let's say Roman, yes, and password 1, 2, 3, let's see. Yeah, so I have these two variables. I can echo them. I can echo password as well. Yeah, so they are variables. But what I want to do, if I want to put these variables inside my configuration file, how can I do this? To do this, I can use what? I can use some kind of template. So I will copy my config to the config template. Yeah, and then in config template, what I will do, I will pass here my variables. So I will write it username and password. Like this. So right now, just a configuration file. It's just a template of configuration file. Get config template. So simple. But I want to substitute these variables with my configuration file, with my exact variable that I have in my session right now. So this username and password, and put it here. To do so, I use this command called environment substitution, environment subst. Then I pass the input template or my config template. And then as output, so I can do what? I can just press it. Okay, you see, it is not working because I have to assign my username and password with keyword export. So they will be available all next sessions of Bash, because every time when you call a program, it creates a new Bash session. So I did it like this, and yeah, right now it's working. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, it just outputted me to my console, to my terminal, but I want to have it in my file. So what I can do, I use this sign to redirect output to something else, and I will add it to my file called configuration.txt. It is ready, and if I cat my configuration.txt, you see, username is substituted with my username that I assigned here, and password is substituted with the value that I assigned here. So simple. And the last one, it's a while true. Do curl, yeah, the true / L done. So again, some stuff that I sometimes using in my daily life. So for example, I want to check my server whether it is working or not. And I can do what? I can write my script. So I can write some bash script and continuously check whether my server is alive or not. Another thing that I can do is this, write as one-liner. So it's not a bash script. Actually, it's a bash script, but it's written in one line. So there is no need for a sh file. I will just write it like this, while true. So infinite loop, do curl, for example, Yandex.ru, or it can be another web server that I want to check. I use I to get only headers, so not to entire page, but only header of the page. Basically, we're using curl to check the access to the server, or to get the content from the server. For example, if I do it like this, curl YARU, so it will not give anything. but because this redirection, that's why. But if I do it like google.com, it showed me, yes, you see, it sent me some HTML, but I just want to have header, not HTML, because sometimes, for example, BHOS edu us. Now, okay, it's again giving me a lot HTML, but for example, who us. No, it's also not giving me. Interesting. Which web server can give me a normal page? Let's check this one. No, again, more permanent. Okay, so nowadays security people become more secure aware, so that they try to avoid this kind of things. But if I apply additional headers, I will get my result. But anyway, I just want to give the status of my conf. You see, sometimes we cannot see status. For example, from Ohu us, I haven't get any status, and I'm not sure whether my server arrived or not. Again, let's check it. You see no status. But if I do it in this way, I just get on the header, and at least I can understand this is 301 code. So at least I got some information rather than nothing. But if I check it, for example, Ohu like this, you see it's can't resolve because there is no such a host. So we can get some information by eye from any web server. And the same I'm doing here. So I'm curling true with I to get on the headers. And it's important, I put semicolon here and write done. So I opened my scope, make my operations, and finished it. And right now it's continuously checking whether my server alive or not. That's it. So, and last part that I want to touch here, it's a cron tab. What's a cron tab? Cron tab basically it's an automation system in almost all Linux distributions that allows you to run something on a daily basis, or a weekly basis, so you can configure it. So basically what you can do, you can configure your task, for example, cd to somewhere and report something based on this configuration. So every minute, every hour, or once per minute, whatever. So once per month or every month, we can specify months, you can specify day of week, so on, so on. So there's a good website called crontab.guru. If, for example, you're struggling, let me first show you what's the point of most problems. It is etc crontab. On tab. Oops, not cat, but what's limit? 1 second. And wow. Okay, I have probably interesting. Yes. My cron tab is a bit damaged here, so that I once played with that, so yeah, it's still damaged. But normally the content of etc cron tab should be like this. So yeah. And if you want to, okay, unfortunately I will not be able to show you how it's working normally, but it actually is possible. Yeah, you can specify, for example, next at 4 or 5, next at, so next task will be done on that day. Yeah, next task will be done on the day. Yeah, you can specify yearly, annually, so on. So you can play it by your own, Actually, we're getting out of time, so yeah, I will keep this part for you, but it's a very cool thing for automation. And another thing, yeah, probably that's it. Yeah, let's conclude our presentation at the end. Yeah, what's next? So, okay, you participated in this session. So what you are going to do next? So first of all, I recommend you to visit this link. That are my labs for Linux, and there are a lot of interesting scripts, like getting emails from some file, then killing processes in different ways. So yes, also there is a keys in method. So switch case is also available in Bash. My calculator, yeah, do calculations in some way in this such files. Sort files, for example, by their name or something. Yeah, so a lot of files, a lot of examples you can get from here. My username and repository name. Another thing, it is labs, additional practice that you can have. First of all, I highly recommend you to finish or to start if you haven't finished this labs on TryHackMe called Linux Fundamentals and Bash scripting. It's a bit, actually they are the same, but it is more detailed. So yeah, please have a look on this labs on TryHackMe. And another thing, it is HackerRank that I really like in this matter, because they have a lot of shell tasks. So you can start from echo, and there are hard tasks. Yeah, like this, some recursive trees. Okay, yeah, you have to print something like this, some crazy stuff. Yeah, and I made it actually. Again, SED is also considered to be a complex thing, but yeah, you can play with that as well. Very interesting thing. And again, so again, an unpaid advertisement of Huawei here. So you can use open earlier course to have some additional information about it, about Linux. So on the really the advertisement is unpaid because materials worse that they will be advertised. So yeah, I really recommend you to visit this link. Yeah, visit it. Interesting stuff happens here, but most probably it's related to the course ID. Yeah, so wow. Something happened. The request was not found on the server. Interesting. Yeah, sometimes bad things happens with the website, so please take it into account. But just search for in the ICT Academy's website for this open earlier course. For example, you can go to the ICT Academy here. And look for open earlier. Yeah, so this course is available and you can enjoy it. Okay. So And that's it, most probably for today. Thank you for your attention. So that's a Q&A time. So please, your questions. I know that this session was complicated, but that's the way how I wanted to make our sessions. Because if I will repeat the content of the lectures from your university, from our university, it is not good way. I want to make some advanced stuff here. So please, your questions, if you have. Okay, thank you. At least more reactions, because really, I spent too much time talking to my monitor. I believe at least something you got from my speech. Yeah, thank you. So really, please, that's a best moment to ask some help. Maybe you don't understand, maybe you didn't understand something from my presentation. So please. Okay, maybe you didn't understand all from my presentation. Please tell me. Okay. So thank you for your being here. Again, you can always reach me by WhatsApp. You know my number, by LinkedIn, and yeah, wherever. But using this Teams channel, by the way, we are going to update this Teams channel to make it be new for other meetings as well. So yeah, okay, then I also want to hear some comments after the session, so please feel free to contact me or to comment my presentation. Maybe I made some mistakes, so I open to hear that mistakes. Maybe you want to decrease this level of complexity. Also, please, you can contact me and write to the group, to private messages also allowed. So yeah, whatever. So yeah, have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.